Okay, I believe we're live. So, welcome, folks, to another episode of Let's Talk Common Sense with me, Mike Omni. It is a joy to have you here. Sorry if I don't look like it's a joy. For those who don't know, we have a video version of this podcast now available on YouTube. So, sorry if I don't look excited. It's because I'm tired of lockdown. And actually, I'll tell you what, I'm not excited because I ordered some food from Amazon Prime. I don't know why. I just thought, you know what, let's help Jeff Bezos catch back up, right? So I ordered food from Amazon, and I missed the delivery, didn't I? So there's no food for now. So sorry if I don't look that excited. That's why. But folks, I've got a really interesting topic to dive into today. Of course, we know we're days away from Donald Trump being. Oh no, sorry, that's a parallel universe. Of course we're not. They failed. We're days away from Joe Biden being inaugurated as the next president of the United States. So we're going to talk a bit about that, what that means for foreign policy, but also we're going to talk about COVID. I know. It's not going to be some deep dive into COVID deaths or COVID numbers. Instead, we're going to look at some of the stories surrounding COVID. And of course, as you know, I've got a really interesting guest I want you to meet called DISUNOMICS. I'm going to bring him on in literally a few seconds. But before I do that, some housekeeping stuff, which I have to say, right? One is that this podcast is brought to you by Common Sense Network, a news network where we bring people with opposing views together to learn and share from each other. Two is you can join the family, and it's a growing family of thousands of people by going to join.tcsnetwork.co.uk. And last but not least, just last week, we've changed how we do articles. So if you go on our website now, there are two different perspectives from across the political spectrum that all contribute to every article you read. So rather than opening up Daily Mail on one tab and say The Guardian on another, you can get both thoughts on one page. So there you go. Go and check that out. Enough of that. Let's meet my wonderful guest for the day, DISUNOMICS. Hey, brother.
What's going on, man? You all right?
I'm good. Did I say it right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I'm really bad with pronunciation. So let's just start, because people are probably thinking DISUNOMIC. What is that? So let's just start right there. Like, what does that mean? What does DISUNOMICS mean?
Okay, so I'm not the most creative of people, so I like economics quite a lot. So this was many years ago, like 2016. So I always tweet about economics, then I was 140 characters on Twitter. And there wasn't enough characters, so I thought people don't really care about the tweets anyway. That's what I assumed. So I'm going to write them. I'm going to just write my thoughts on economics and things that we could look at from an economic perspective and just have it like a secret blog and not really put it out there, just have it type of thing. So
Okay.
I was playing around with like a little website. I was showing my friends and they said, you should post these. I was like, nobody's going to care. It's economics. They're like, no, you should do it. So I was like, okay, F it, I did. So I needed a name, and obviously economics, and my surname's Disu. So it was just DISUNOMICS. Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's fancy, nothing, no special meaning. It's just literally my surname mixed with economics, and then that's just stuck since then.
I love it. I love when there's just a simple explanation.
Yeah.
It's not, I thought it was an acronym or some sort of anagram. I've been watching Lupin online.
Really
Have you seen it?
Yeah. I watched it in a day.
So literally, I watched 3 episodes last night, and I thought, just chill out. So I stopped it because I didn't want to ruin it. But I'll be honest in saying, like, the first episode, I thought, this is not for me. Another simple, I'm stealing, whatever. And then it's got lots of layers, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I was really impressed. I didn't think I was gonna like it, and but yeah, I was surprised. Like after the first episode, I was like, this is all right. I'll see how it goes. Can't see where the plot goes after like an episode or two. But as you said, there's a lot of layers. So I look forward to the next season. And next season, I'm not gonna binge. I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah, it's hard
because people might spoil it online. So if they want to spoil it online, then I have to binge. I have no choice.
Yeah, no, but I only bring it up. One, it's a great show, and of course, Netflix isn't a sponsor yet of this podcast. But for now, you can check it out. I bring it up because anagrams are a big part of that. So in my head, I thought maybe DISUNOMICS was one of those anagrams. But it's good to see that. Yeah, it's got you in it. And of course, I read online that the idea behind it is, it's meant to be a straightforward concept. It's a platform that you're using to make economics relevant, entertaining, and relatable, right?
Yeah.
My question to you is, why don't you think kind of people care about economics, or do you think they do care, but it's not market? I mean, what's that old thing they always say? People don't care about politics. Young people don't care about politics. Are you
Yeah,
part of that crowd?
yeah. I think no, I do. Well, they do and they don't. They don't care about how it is portrayed to them, but the impact of politics, of course, we care because it impacts our everyday lives. So if the government are going to randomly decide to increase the national minimum wage up to, let's say, £25, everybody's going to care about that, because if you're a worker, that might be good news for you. If you're a business owner, that might not be so good news for you. So everybody does care. We care about the end result, but we don't. What we kind of miss is what leads up. There's a process for everything. So before we got to, oh my God, Brexit, this might be the worst thing in the world, there was a process that led up to that for many, many years. Or whether it's the fact that this government is absolutely horrendous at dealing with everything coronavirus related, there was a process that got into that. So I think when it comes to economics, naturally, if you had a choice between the average person, playing around with my kids or my friends and my family, watching TV, go to cinemas, or reading this stuff about the Bank of England, is really a no-brainer in terms of entertainment value. But that stuff actually makes a difference to your life. So if it was presented in a more palatable and relatable manner, so instead of like when you often see economics spoken about on TV, you probably get middle-aged white men speaking a lot of certain vernacular, loads of graphs. Who's gonna really take? Who cares? No, nobody's interested in that. It's just, yeah, look at me, we're really smart. Or let's talk and address other smart people, but the rest of the world don't care. So if it was put in a manner where people can understand and how does it impact my life, people will care because it's their life. And that's what I found by just starting this, that people actually care. It's just how it's marketed towards you.
Yeah. No, I totally hear that. I agree. Like this is, I don't want to say unfortunately, but this is kind of incidentally, because I didn't plan for it to be the case. It's kind of become my life's work a bit, kind of. I remember I was I was one of those eager kids. I was a member of youth parliament all those years ago. And I remember people used to look at me like, why are you doing this, Mike? It's kind of like when you see your friend interested in some weird, you're kind of like, bro, there's no need to do this, right? And people always, ask the question, is it just that some people just care about economics or care about politics, care about these things, or do you know something we all don't know, which is what you just said, which is that, I have a friend, Kenny, he always says, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. and the idea there is it actually benefits some people to have young people disinterested, disengaged, not caring, not really interested. I mean, we used the argument about, the government would never touch the winter fuel allowance, because if they touch that allowance, old people would march, they would rally, and somehow the party would feel the impact. Whereas with young people, the idea is that, well, y'all don't vote, so what's the point of trying to kind of fight for you, as it were?
Why? Because obviously every government, they're gonna have a pot of money. That the money's not limited. No matter what you read, people say, "Oh, magic monetary." There's no such thing. Money is finite. They have any money they use or borrow, they have to pay it back. So if there's a pot of money to do all these things and deliver all these promises, why are you going to put money and effort into delivering things from people that are not going to vote for you? Like it's a very simple incentive. Like I always say, look at the incentive and it will determine the behavior. So that's why you see, for example, the Conservative Party, they won't really push as hard to get the 1624 vote because they know they're going to lose it by 70% anyway. 70% will go to Labour. That's why you see Labour, a lot of their policies may be more heavily pushed towards younger people because that's a key audience base. So it's 100% spot on. 100%. Same thing you said with the windfall tax. The old stats show the older people get, the more likely to vote Conservative. So people over 65 definitely vote Conservative at a higher clip. So they are not doing anything to mess with that because that will impact putting bums on MP seats in House of Commons.
Yeah, and they're not touching that. Folks, do you agree? I mean, what do you think about all of this stuff? Are you a young person that's been bullied because you like politics? You be called weird. Well, take umbrage. I'm with you. Well, you know what, DISUNOMICS, I agree with everything you said, but there's one question I always ask people, and this tells me all I need to know about people. People say what they do, they say what they've done, and it's always like super impressive when people are really accomplished. But here's the question: if you were a pigeon, who would you poo on?
If I was a pigeon, who would I poo on?
If you were a pigeon, who would you poo on, and why?
Oh my God. you know what? There's not many people that really irritate me like that because I don't really care a lot. But at the moment, if I was a pigeon, who would I put on? It will be Boris Johnson, 100%.
Oh, come on. He's probably soaking wet already. Is there any?
It's simply because like I have one of my weaknesses as a human being is I am very impatient. I have such a low tolerance level. And one of the things I really struggle to deal with is like stupidity. When I say stupidity, I don't mean like I don't expect everybody to be a genius. I mean when you're very stupid or to say or do something stupid, but you have like a lot of you're combative about it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not even trying to hear words, as us Nigerians say. And Boris is so ridiculously incompetent. It maddens me, and it's been maddening me from the moment he was mayor, foreign sec. Every time, and people kept saying, "This guy's a genius. Trust me, he's just pretending." I'm like, "No, it's impossible. This guy's an idiot." And
Okay, let me push back on that because I'm not a conservative, but I know some people will go, Mike, don't let him get away with that. So when you say Boris Johnson is an idiot,
yeah,
I mean, what exactly do you mean? Where is he? I mean, because some would say, well, he went to one of the top universities in the country and he did quite well in university. Are you talking about street smarts? Like, what are you talking about exactly?
Competency to do your job. I don't care what school you go to. I don't care. I don't care how many accomplishments, winning medals. I don't care. Your job is I don't care about his university life. I don't care about his family life. I don't care about any of that. If you have a job and you do it terribly, I'm calling you an idiot, especially when your job is so important. So, for example, his job, like you miss 5 Cobra meetings. One of the Cobra meetings you miss when people talk about coronavirus, you are hosting a Chinese diplomat. You're out there eating dim sum and that while people while people panicking for flipping pandemic. Like you, every decision.
Dim sum. We should say we don't know what he had, but yeah. I get your point.
Yeah, just for comedic value. But so many decisions, like I've never seen. You rarely see governments make U-turns. You've made about 17 in the space of a year. Like every decision you are making. If I could say me, DISUNOMICS, all I am is a podcaster. I'm going to say this is really dumb. You're not trying to do this. How are you? And you've got experts saying you do this, that, and the third. And so that's why I think he's an idiot. And his idiocy has a direct impact on people's lives. Like literally, people are losing lives, losing livelihoods, losing jobs. Do you know what I mean? So that stuff to me is unforgivable. Like your incompetence has dismantled the nation. So I can't.
I get you, and there's a point I want to make. But before we go there, I just want to ask: what politician would you say is competent then?
And that's this is the thing. People assume with me, when they hear me speak, they assume I'm whatever side. So now people are probably going to assume I'm a staunch Labour.
No. Listen, I just want to know who you think.
Yeah. So I actually, in terms of so far, I don't think I rate any of them. I can't lie to you.
No politician in the UK today.
There's not a single one. And I think, and the reason why, because this is quite philosophical for me, I think democracy to a certain degree is a bit of a scam, because we're humans. We are governed by self-interest. So if my self-interest, for example, let's say it's me, I become the MP of La La Land, yeah? I'm a backbencher. Really and truly, do I want to be a backbencher for the rest of my life? Highly unlikely. I might want to be on the front seat, do you know what I mean, a minister, and hopefully prime minister one day. So my actions I'm not just always doing things in the best interest of my constituents. Often I'm doing in the best interest of the party. That's why certain times it's time to vote. I might not believe in where we're going to vote. My party wants to vote, whether it be Labour, Lib Dem, whatever. But if my party whip tells me to vote that way, more often than not, MPs are going to vote that way, even if it's not in the best interest of their. And so that's why I don't rate most MPs, because they can be bullied or choose to do certain things against the best interest of the people, constituencies, because it's in their best interest, because they want to climb their career ladder. And you can't blame them, because that's their career.
Yeah, I get you. I guess what someone would say back to you is then, like, you sound a bit like everything's broken, nothing works. So what would we do? Change the system? Do we need to? So parties? Do we need 5 parties rather than 2? Do we need no whips anymore? Like, what exactly would we need to have for you to have a position that you rate?
Yeah, so I think obviously it's very difficult to create like a mode of society or mode of system. So but like what I would envision is, first of all, get rid of first past the post voting system.
Oh, come on, replace it with what? We will get along.
Huh?
So what would you place it with? AV?
No, but proportional representation. Make these people get along. Also, one thing is, I don't believe in parties. I don't believe in political parties. I believe that they should be voting on policies, not. I feel we should be voting on policies. Do we as a country want to do this with our schools? Do we as a country want to do this with pensions and stuff like that? That's how. And there should be a big
And
drive to
do you think that's practical, considering at any given time in Parliament you have what 15? I mean, so many bills going back and forth. You think every single
no, not every single term, but in terms of like big overarching decisions that impact the country. You see what I'm saying? And when it comes to the the more political bills, because as you say, there's so many bills, so many different subcommittees. These bills have tens of pages.
Yeah,
that's why we employ these people as experts to do this in our best interest. So a system that forces cooperation, not forcing people to like, you know what I mean? Like, especially we see in America, which we'll probably talk on later, where they'll just, if you want to do something, they'll just tank it because they can. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. Just like, yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like, even they weren't even trying to allow Biden to be president. What is that? They try to tank it. So forcing people to cooperate because it's in the best interest of the country, and trying to make and try to be more of a focus on policy and what we're actually doing rather than power, if that makes sense. So
I get you. I mean,
it's very difficult. Like the criticisms you raise are very valid. It's difficult because obviously the system we have is way more efficient, miles more efficient. But
yeah, I mean this is what I would say is that I mean, so when people kind of make prescriptions or they they kind of make it clear that this is what I want from Parliament, this is what I want from politics. They have to understand we haven't just gotten here like right now, and I'm speaking now to people who maybe are disenfranchised with politics and have got an idea as to how things can change. I remember being I was on Question Time during that, or Young People's Question Time, many years ago when they were doing the whole AV vote at the time, and people were like, AV is going to save our political system. And I said, well, no, it's not. One, I'm a believer in first past the post, so we can go into that another time perhaps. But people have to realize, like, the representative democracy, that's the deliberative democracy system we have right now, hasn't just kind of come to be. It is by far, I think, the most efficient. When you look at world systems, I mean, there's a reason why they call us the mother of democracies, because we apart from the upper chamber, which is so stupid, the House of Lords is a waste of time. It's all odds because I know people who probably, well, there's people who won't like what I just said, but it's the truth. I just think it's a joke. Apart from that, I think the kind of fusion of powers, that kind of that the system we have now, it does work for the most part. It's a shame that Brexit has meant it ground to a halt, and that's really kind of shown some of the inefficiencies with it. But for the most part, I don't know if I agree with the kind of apocalyptic pronouncement you've made that there's no one person in the country right now that you rate. Okay, how about this? If you went back in time, what politicians, if you were to look retrospectively, what politicians would you say you rate? Or yeah.
Do you know what? I think looking back in time, to be fair, if I'm not being as harsh, like really and truly, he's only what's his Boris, who I have a really big disdain for. But Theresa May, no, I wasn't a fan. Cameron, Gordon Brown, he was there for like a year or two before he got bounced out. Blair, he did some monumental stuff, and John Major was a bit before my time. I'm not gonna pretend like I know much about John Major and Margaret Thatcher. Obviously, Margaret Thatcher hasn't got the best PR. So yeah, like I'll say Blair, Cameron. Like
you like Blair?
No, I won't say like. I'll say at least to me, I get competency vibes from them. So to a certain degree. So,
competent criminals, yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is the thing about democracy. And I think the main issue I say of democracy, to be fair to the politicians, I always say when I speak to my friends, and I said the issue of democracy is also us as the people, because we don't do a good enough job in getting involved and holding people accountable. Whenever we've actually attempted, especially we've seen in this pandemic, when people have attempted to hold the government en masse in terms of accountability, especially with the Marcus Rashford thing, for example, we saw quick changes. So if as the people we paid more attention to politics, and I think that's why platforms like myself and yours and others are important, giving people more information so people are more aware of what's going on. And then because they track everything, if the temperature in the streets is that the public do not like what we're about to do, they all consider not doing it, because at the end of the day, incentive, we don't want to get bounced out the next election. So we don't do a good enough job as the people of being holding people accountable. And also, I believe another thing that as people we could do better is being realistic. So certain times politicians might not want to come out and say, do you know what? As of now, we don't know what the best practice is, but we're going to try multiple avenues, and we're going to see what works best. But as a politician, you can't come out and say, do you know what, guys, I don't know.
Like, well, they couldn't, because you would crucify them.
No, me personally, I wouldn't. Unless it's something that you should know.
What? You wouldn't? Based on what you said so far, I would be afraid if I was a politician and I came out and said, you know what, I'm not quite sure. You'd be like, incompetent, get him out.
No, because what I'm saying,
like, get him out.
No, because the corona stuff, like, it's like science and common sense. If you have an issue of a virus, you don't really want people coming in out of the country at will. So you might want to lock down earlier. Do you know what I mean? It's just, these are certain things. But for example, like I give an economic example. There's a clear north-south divide in terms of economics, in terms of ability to earn higher wages. The highest wages are in London, Slough, Reading, and the surrounding area. They have tried so many things. The government have tried so many things, investing, trying to move business up there into upper regions, and nothing has changed. So even economists, I remember I went to watch a seminar. It was an LSE, so loads of economists were there, some government people there, and they're like, right now we don't really know why this is. We just don't know how we can move the wages and get more higher wages for people in the northwest and the northeast, etc. So in that instance, I wouldn't be angry at the government. They don't know. Even if a pandemic, you're gonna make mistakes. That's cool. You just have to act quickly and decisively. Because I remember the one health organization who said, act quickly and decisively, you're never gonna get it right. So I can't really, and even sometimes I even defend the government, even with like the kids going to school. I was like, yeah, going to school is not the same as going on holiday and going to the club. Like, the kids need to be educated. It's a calculated risk. Like, you can't be mad at the government for still trying to put kids in school. So I'm a bit more bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm a lot more objective. I just don't rate Boris.
I don't know if I believe you, but I hear your point. I take your point. I think you're absolutely right. I do think we need that kind of, and you know, another thing we used to say back in my kind of politics days was all about, I think, a big issue as well when people listening to this podcast, you know, when we say the word politics, people just think about Theresa May, you know, doing her awkward dancing, and they think about Boris Johnson doing but that's not politics. That's party or even parliamentary politics. The truth of the matter is, you know, and people talk about, oh, you can write a letter to your MP. I hate when people give that example, because I'm like, what? Not that it's not important, but what a redundant way to explain like politics. It's not just writing letters to your MP. It's, as you said, you know, turn on the temperature so as to make people aware that you care about something, which can be done through pressure groups, which can be done through, you know, starting an organization, volunteering in a charity, you know, writing reports. I mean, there's so many different ways you can be an active citizen. And I know this isn't the topic of this podcast, but I do think a much more chronic issue, which is deeper, if we do that kind of why, I think we would end at this place, which is the UK is woeful when it comes to defining what British citizenship means, i.e. what it means to be an active citizen. A lot of my friends who are Black wouldn't consider themselves, I'm Nigerian by, like, I was about to say by nature. I'm Nigerian by origin. They wouldn't consider themselves Nigerian because a lot of them don't speak language. They've been there once when they were 5 or something, you know. So they don't really have an affinity. Of course, they like Afrobeat, but that's pretty much it, right? But then they wouldn't consider themselves British neither, because if you ask them, you know, tell me some of the key moments in this country's history, it's like they don't know anything. So for them, they're kind of in this no man's land, and I think a lot of even British people, bar fish and chips, no one feels proud to be British, and ergo, no one wants to kind of, you know, look after the local community and get involved. I'm not saying there's no one at all who wants to do this. I'm just speaking hyperbole to make the point that maybe the reason we don't have that we don't have active citizens is because we haven't really defined for a long time now what it means to be British. Do you feel British?
Absolutely not. I don't feel British at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I definitely feel Nigerian. So I think because my parents.
Do you eat swallow?
Hmm?
Do you eat
Yeah.
swallow?
Yeah.
That's vile, by the way. But I do.
Oh my god!
It's not good. I had a massive debate with friends. Ask yourself, why do people around the world not enjoy it?
Who doesn't enjoy it? Who cares if they enjoy it or not?
No, it shows you the general standard of good is that we can export this thing, and we can't export it.
That's true. Yeah, it's definitely a quiet taste. Do you know what? If somebody said they didn't like swallow that wasn't like Nigerian or West African, I would understand. So I'm just shocked that you don't. So
no,
I hear it.
It's a clump of carbs, and you don't even eat it. You just swallow it.
Yeah, it's good though.
Did you just roll your eyes back?
Good, man. It just hits a spot, man, with the stews and the meats. It's not delicious. But what I understand is that supermalt. I understand why people don't like supermalt. I love it.
Absolutely vile. What is it? It tastes like it has spices in it.
I don't know. Do you know what? When people ask me why I like if you told me why I like Ribena, it's sweet. Why do you like biscuits? Oh, come on, they're sweet. Shortbread, great. Tell me why you like supermalt. I ain't gonna answer for you. I won't argue with you. I just like it.
I've never understood. Like when you drink something cold, you want it to be refreshing.
Yeah,
it's not. It tastes like it's got spices. It literally tastes like there's Maggie. It doesn't. It doesn't taste nice.
No, it's good, man. But I hear it.
Anyways, we're going down another track. Yeah. But I do. I don't know. I gotta find some researchers in this area because I am really interested in reading more about this whole British citizenship thing. I just think it's so interesting because a lot of my friends, they don't channel any nationalistic or nationhood. They don't have anything. So the closest they come to it is the Olympics, when you might cheer for Team GB. But
what's interesting about what you said is that is even the way, maybe especially within our community, and maybe more, I'll say, liberal, university educated. If you see a white British, especially working class person who is very nationalistic, people will align that with xenophobia and racism.
Yeah, racism. Yeah.
So it's strange. So now it's got to a point where some people might be even. I'm talking about British people, like white Brits. They might even feel a type of way to show they're nationalistic because the media or certain segments of the media, or maybe social media, are aligning that with things that you don't want to be aligned with. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's interesting. I think that's also caused a certain divide where there's people who have that nationalistic British spirit. So there's some people who don't really feel that way, and naturally, those people will have different wants and needs and what they look for in politicians, and that, of course, causes a divide. But that's what
it's crazy because
rise of populism.
Yeah. No, I mean, my master's degree was. I was looking at this. I was looking at kind of. Well, actually, no, my undergrad. I was looking at the rise of far right parties across Europe, and how they've kind of ridden the wave, if you like, of populism and stuff like that. It is interesting to me because I think one of the biggest paradoxes, for some reason, I'm not saying it's a paradox, but I think some people certainly think it is when you see like a black person who's really proud to be British. Then everyone's like, hold on a minute. If that person stepped into a party, everyone go, hold on. Yeah. Something's up, because it's such a jarring concept that you would be proud to be British. Because let's be honest, a lot of people, especially on the left, when they think about Britain, still think about Britain, through colonial lenses, to be quite frank. And even now, it's kind of like a quasi-colonial project that's a bit kind of more palatable, but for the most part, they think it's still kind of wrought with issues. Now, in the most awkward segue ever, let's leave nationhood and the UK and jump to America, because why not? This week, there is some good news happening. Well, depends where you are. Of course, if you're a Trump supporter, this is Armageddon. This is the worst week of your life, where American has lost its testicular fortitude, and is on his knees because the leftist Black Lives Matter campaigners have taken over. Of course, that's an alternate reality. That's not the case. Joe Biden is going to be inaugurated in just 2 days. We're going to have a new president, as I said before. Just a few hours ago, I was watching a video with I have never been excited by moving out trucks before, but there were some shots of trucks going into the White House, and they had cardboard boxes, and obviously they're moving Trump's things out. And I actually got excited. I was like, "Oh, it's happening!" Which is so.
It's funny. But I was reading that Trump actually often doesn't even stay at the White House. He doesn't like it. He stays at his own hotels.
Yeah,
on the taxpayers' dime. Because when you think about it, they're paying for the stay, but it's Trump's business. Is insane. But yeah, he's finally gone. The circus, the 4-year circus, has come to an end.
What do you think? Because if you don't like Boris and you think Boris is incompetent, I want to hear uninterrupted. I want to hear your thoughts on
Trump. Trump is a clown, but God forgive me, I find him so entertaining. I find Trump so funny because I just can't believe he is doing and saying the things he's doing. Like, it's just insane. Like, you come on Twitter and he's just tweeting mad. Like, one time I think it became trendy in Hollywood to just take shots at Trump. It's like there's a thing. Oh yeah, thank you for my award. Yeah, Trump is awful. Yeah, I hate Trump. You know, we got to fight to stop Trump. Yeah, all that type of stuff. Yeah, whatever. I think maybe the latest person was Robert De Niro, and he must have tweeted something like, and to that Robert De Niro, clearly who's rubbed into something like he's stupid, clearly punch drunk from all those films he's been in. I was like, what? Like, he called somebody a dog. Like, even the way he's like, the virus came from China. Like, he's just insane.
China.
Even I'm not sure. I think it might have been Haiti, where there was like an earthquake and there was like supplies, and he was there to give out supplies. He was like hitting them like you're Steph Curry. He was like, yeah. He is an absolute clown. Like, he'll just be there tweeting. Like, he's just so candid. It's insane. So, in terms of Trump, I just couldn't believe it. So he in terms of like his presidency, I think it's largely been a disaster. I think it's safe to say. Like, how do you get impeached twice? Like, how do you do that? The first president ever to get impeached twice. Like, you've been involved in so many scandals, and then you try to cover up the scandals by firing people, or like
it's unbelievable. I mean, of course, you know, I don't want to do that thing. I'm lost for words because I actually am, but it's annoying saying that because I mean, we're working on an article on TCS Network, and folks, you can read articles at tcsnetwork.co.uk on the 3 most unbelievable moments, of the Trump presidency. And honestly, I can't think of a harder task because there are so many. You know what I think is probably the funniest thing that Trump did was when he said that a tornado was going to hit a certain part of the country, and then they cut to the country, and then the people there were like, "No, there's no tornado gonna hit." And then they went back to Trump, and he was like, "That is definitely gonna hit." Like, and then the Met Office people were like, "No, like the tornado won't hit there." And then Trump does a press conference where they've given him like the diagram of like where the tornado is gonna hit, and obviously it's not showing what he said. So he took a Sharpie.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
your circle, and for me, that's the funniest thing in the 4 years because I
couldn't believe that. I remember that. I was like, do you know how crazy the Trump thing is? Yeah, that I'll be seeing videos like that. Yeah, and I'll have to, because obviously with social media, there's so many spoofs. I have to make sure it's not a spoof. It wasn't. I was like, is this a spoof?
That's the most ridiculous.
One thing he did, yeah, that was, I don't think them, because Trump does so much mad stuff, yeah, people have missed so much mad stuff he does. Yeah. One thing he did was that, I think it was Mitt Romney. So like, oh, so President Trump, did you hear that Mitt Romney got like coronavirus? Then he's like, what, Mitt got corona? He's like, gee, that's bad, like sarcastically. And everybody looked at him like, what? Like, did you just basically mock Mitt Romney for getting corona? Like, he's insane. Like, and
the amount of It's too hard. It's too hard to kind of. I think what it is we will right now. It's not very funny because like literally, we're talking about 5 people who've lost their lives after that Capitol
Yeah, of course.
riot, which came. I mean, I had we had a show last week where I was talking to one of our journalists. He was saying that Trump didn't incite anybody. He didn't say go and kill, blah, blah, and I said, oh, give me a break. That's literally not how incitement works, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's not the
you know,
definition of incitement.
you know what I mean. But away from that, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, of course. But it's interesting to me that Trump is in some part culpable, especially because he's the president. But what I want to do, what I want to talk about is also what Biden's presidency will mean. Now, I know there's going to be lots of people talking about this in the mainstream media. It's going to be the topic of news for this week coming up, folks. Brace yourself. It's, they'll be. Listen, let me get prophetic. Here's some lines you can expect. This is me channeling my inner BBC News anchorman. Yes, we have a new president, but he's going to be inheriting the same country. So how will Biden, take what is currently a country that's on fire and slowly start to build that back out? We're going to get a lot of those narratives. This idea that yes, Biden's new, but the country hasn't changed. The country doesn't change overnight. You can't solve years of division through one presidency. You're going to get a lot of those. But I do want to hear from you though, as an economist, as someone who's thinking about these topics. What do you think Biden's win will mean for other countries? So people not in America, because I think that's going to be, we're going to really bang that drum this next few weeks. But I just wonder, when you think about China, when you think about the Middle East, when you think about India even, right? What do you think Biden's presidency will mean for them?
So I think instantly you're now talking to a politician again. So before you're talking to a guy who was just on whatever. Like you can never really know what to expect with Trump. Like he fully launched a trade war with China. Like who does that? Who launches a trade war with the machine that is China? Anyway, so I think I think he'll from his words, he seems like he wants to repair a lot of relations. So I don't think you're going to see as much economic conflict. I don't think we're going to see a trade war. I like to believe. In terms of like what I expect from Biden, I expect pretty much more of that globalistic approach, whereas Trump was more on protectionism. Like, I don't really want to mess around with foreign countries. I want to have American jobs. I want to put American people first.
Yeah.
All that rhetoric. Did you really do anything? No. But do you know what I mean? That was his aim. I think Biden, from his work and the type of president, the type of character Biden is. So if you look at the early parts of Biden's presidency, he wasn't the most liberal person you would if people actually looked at the issue of Biden. But he's over the years. I'm not sure if it's just personal growth or the times have changed. I'll leave that.
It's had a long time to grow.
yeah. So I'll leave that to other people. I have my own definition, but I might be more cynical. I'm very cynical when it comes to politicians naturally. But so I think I literally don't think he's going to do particularly much. I think he's just going to be another president that's, oh yeah, let's repair relationship. I think Middle East, what was he got? Because a lot of these Democrats wanted to blow up the Middle East before. I don't think they're going to be on that type of. I don't think they're going to be on that type of time now. It's true. Him and Hillary and all them, they all wanted to blow the Middle East to pieces. So I don't think it's on that time now. I think a lot of people forget. So I just expect more. I think expect more of the same, more of that typical capitalist politician. What about you? What do you expect?
Well, it's hard. I think what you're saying is totally correct. I would back that 100%, which is that it's really quite difficult because if you start with China, I mean, China will hope that the trade war ends. They'll hope that he removes the trade tariffs on Chinese goods. They'll hope that he reverses the ban on the tech giant Huawei. They'll hope that they can work together.
How do you feel about that? I can't lie.
On Huawei.
From what I've been reading about what was going on, so I'm not as heavy into tech, but from what I've been reading about what I can't lie, I might be sounding Americans because you can't be telling me, you can't be saying if I want to work here or do business here, like you can basically like steal my tech. Like no, like,
yeah, Huawei is a whole topic, and I actually think it's worth like a podcast probably exploring that, because I've got many thoughts on Huawei. But in the interest of time, because I'm taking a look at the time, and I know this has been one of the most enjoyable podcasts I've done so far. So I know naturally we're running out of time. But I do know that at the same time, Biden, as you said, is a throwback, a nostalgic throwback to that
right.
globalist America that would cooperate with other countries to actually monitor China, especially on issues of national security, issues of human rights. So I think there's a double-edged sword there with China. They're going to be hoping that this is the guy who's going to be more rational, a politician, as you said, but also, they might also get hit. I think if you think about you mentioned the Middle East and stuff like that. Well, word on the street is that people want more deals like Trump signed. Ironically, you remember the deal the peace deal he broke with Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain. Folks want they want similar deals like that. However, they want to be involved in the decision making. There'll be hopes that Biden will get a mediated solution in Yemen and Syria, that he's going to help with the refugee crisis. There'll be hopes that he's going to help out India. Well, to be fair, Trump was pretty kind to India. There's pretty much bipartisan support in the lower house, Congress, and the Senate for India. So I think for the most part, policies will be the same there. However, I do think that the Indians will want more help against Chinese aggression, like on the Himalayan border and stuff like that. I think. I mean, we can go down to other countries as well, but we don't know. And one of the issues with Biden is that there is no clear there's no clear, cogent kind of economic principle as such.
Because literally, obviously, when the US election, I did a podcast on it. So I was like, let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. Could go through the notes. He doesn't really.
You're like, there's nothing.
It's literally, basically. It's me or Trump. Like, that was basically the vibe. Like, it's me or Trump. You don't have this clown in here again. So
have you seen the American Rescue Plan? He's planning to spend about 1.3 trillion dollars on just investing into public infrastructure, just to basically try and boost back from COVID. So that's been welcomed by everybody for the most part. As you know, now is the time to spend. Like if you're any world government, build the bridges now. Build everything now, because it gets harder much later on. It will be interesting to see what happens. Now, just because of time, I want to at least touch on some COVID news. And I don't want to depress anybody, so I don't want us to. In fact, maybe anytime I say COVID, I feel like I lose 6 listeners. Yeah, that's enough of that. See you next week, Mike. But in fact, what do you think about COVID?
Well, I'll start on a positive note.
Again, you did what?
I'll start on a positive note of COVID, which is very difficult. So I was looking at the FT, I think it was the day before yesterday or yesterday. So we've been testing. I say we, not me, because I don't do the test, but like the country have been testing as long as
now you're British.
Yeah, I am British now. When it comes to Yorkshire puddings, I'm British. I love those. And tea. But when it so the country's been testing.
Out of curiosity, what's your? Because I'm a tea guy, but what's your tea of choice?
I like, obviously, the English breakfast tea, and I also like Earl Grey as well.
Poor takes on food. On food,
I'll take that. I'm basic. I'll take that. When it comes to food, I'm not going to argue with anybody. My taste, clearly, I get so much complaints. My taste, I'm clearly the problem. I'll accept that. Of
course. How can you move from Supermalt to Earl Grey? That's unfair for your taste buds. They're probably like.
Yeah, I actually thought I was doing bits. I thought I was proper culture when I moved on to Earl Grey. So you're telling me that's not the thing?
Earl Grey is nice, but you've got to try chocolate tea, which is it's tea but infused with chocolate flakes. It's wonderful. I'll get your address after and we'll mail you some, because it's amazing.
Fantastic.
But sorry, on COVID positive news.
Okay, so we were testing for, of course, to see if you've got corona as well. But the government was also doing tests on healthcare workers that had been contracted positive, and they were testing for antibodies and stuff like that. So one of the conclusions of the various tests they were doing, that there was analysis of 20,000 people, healthcare workers, who tested positive for COVID, and the results show that they've built up a resistance to symptomatic reinfection of COVID up to 94%. So basically, the news is basically if you've had COVID, it's almost like you've had the vaccine already because it's got So that is good news because think of how many people that have had coronavirus so far. I don't know, I have the number here up somewhere. So 300. Well, the last 7 days, 358,000 people have tested positive for corona. So majority of them will survive, and hopefully all of them by God's grace.
Yeah.
But those people technically have almost vaccine-like. Well, according to this data, and if it's to be true, but the only issue is that nobody knows that if it's going to be applicable to the new variant. That's the only sticking point.
Yeah, and to be fair, I should probably because of time, I did want to go through quite a lot of COVID stuff, but we won't. What I'll do is just to add some further good news because I think some people are confused on the whole kind of variant thing. So people think new variant, a new strain, the vaccine's redundant, it won't work. In terms of early research data, none of the variants so far have been resistant to the vaccine.
Yeah, now and they don't give any harder or harsher what's it called symptoms and stuff like that. It just means that the vaccine's gonna jump from maybe your body to extra 5. Like that's what.
Yeah. And what's important to note as well is, I mean, there are mutations every day. Anyways, I'm not a genealogist or anything like that. But on reading, the idea is, the viruses mutate every single time. There's new external factors.
Even a quick fact for the audience. Even the virus that was in Wuhan is not the same virus that's gone all across Europe. It mutated. So so we shouldn't be too worried.
But what's also super important to note is these big bodies like Pfizer and the Johnson & Johnson, all these big pharmaceuticals, they're always testing the efficacy of the vaccine on the new strains. And if the vaccine the strain or COVID, as it were, mutates so much that that they need to change the vaccine, it would only ever be a tweak. And because they're tweaking it, and they might be tweaking a small part of it, it wouldn't need to go through the whole process of being accepted or accredited, whatever you call it, by those official bodies. Within a month, within 3-4 weeks, new vaccines could be redeployed. The issue isn't with the mutations per se. The issue is with how quickly it's spreading and mutating. That's the problem. Is if it jumps to 20 people and then mutates, and then that's when it gets out of control. But just because there's a few strains doesn't mean it's not as bad as people think it is. When people are like, oh, I see on Twitter all the time, people quote tweet Brazil. They're like,
Brazil strain, the Ronaldinho strain.
Just don't say the Ronaldinho strain.
Oh no.
Oh, you're gonna get my feelings with Rooney retiring. But
I know.
Isn't it crazy?
I'm happy retired. I don't like seeing him in Derby
because he can be a manager now.
Yeah, I don't like seeing him in Derby. That's Wazza. That's the GOAT.
Yeah, you're right. I can't lie. That I did stop watching because I just felt it's just not right. It's not right. Yeah. He's British and he deserves to be treated properly.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was really well management, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. This has been a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it, and What I'll do now is, shut up for a minute, give you a chance to maybe say some exciting things you've got coming up or you're doing. I know you spoke about some plans you have for the platform. Maybe it's premature and, feel free not to share it, but it would be interesting to hear, just your thoughts as people enter the week. What do you have to say to them?
Yeah. So, check me out, DISUNOMICS. I have a podcast I release literally every Sunday night. So like by 10:30, between 10:30 and midnight, you should get it. So I've got a Patreon, so I'm just trying to build that up, trying to start putting out content. So I'm gonna start writing. There's gonna be I've been trying to record a video, but I'm so bad with cameras and stuff. That's not my forte. So I recorded a video. I was like, yeah, I could put this out. It's going to be on Trump and being impeached. And then I looked at it and I was out of focus. I was blurry. So I have to go back, do that again. So you can look to see that in the new week. And yeah, in terms of our plans for the year, I'm trying to put out more content, trying to link up with people like yourself and more other people who are more in the news, trying to educate people and inform people. And I'd love to link up with more people and actually try to build a network of young people trying to, do you know what I mean? Just do our news thing because we don't have to rely on the BBC or all these other.
Big time. I agree. And more power to you, man. I mean, you may be interested. On Wednesday, we've got a live stream. We're going to be live streaming the inauguration, which is, in case people are wondering, it's 5 p.m. UK time and it's midday in America. So, there's performances by John Legend. Obviously, that's not exciting, is it? Because he sounds like someone's sitting on his lungs. He's just like, no one in the world. Like, just let it out, my brother.
I'll never be like, Spotify John Legend. Not
yeah, I've never listened to him of my own volition. It's when it's forced down your throat in the supermarket or something like that. No one in the world. No one. anyways, there's other performances as well, and it might be interesting to get you involved now. We'll see if the schedules work, but it would be great to have you involved in that live stream.
Yeah, we'll speak on that because I know I record that day, but I want to be involved because
no problem at all, man. But yeah, no, it's great to be connected. And yeah, everyone have a wonderful week. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and see you next week.